Dr. Winters, thanks for sharing the results of your study with us today. If you're like me and look forward to the St. Catharines Standards Yesterday and Today feature every Saturday, the experience of comparing a historic view of history with how the city looks today comes to life via the St. Catharines Museum. We welcome Adrian Petry to the show. Adrian, it's really coming to life right on the street for people in St. Catharines.
Absolutely. Thanks so much for having me. Yeah, History InSite, it's a really great program that we've developed over the last few years as a temporary installation at the In the Soil Festival. But we wanted to make it a permanent installation. And so we've sort of shrunk them down onto street signs. And but still, the project is pretty much the same idea. We've placed a photograph in the place that it was taken. And so you can see the change over time, some streetscapes, some very specific scenes throughout downtown.
These are all photos from the museum's collection. I imagine it took you a while to sort through to find the best ones.
Yeah, and as I said, we've the permanent version of History InSite that we've done this year is sort of an amalgamation of the last 5 years. We have about 25 photos that we've used, and we narrowed it down to 11. So it was pretty easy to sort of pick my favorites, but you're right, in terms of choosing photographs, it's pretty difficult because we have to make sure that there is something for us to put the picture on in which we can still see the photo from the perspective of the photographer. For example, a lot of photos of the market square that are in our collection are taken from a rooftop. So it would be great to use those, but you can't stand in the perspective of the photographer to see the same kind of change. At the end of the day, the challenge is finding a pole in the right spot to put the photograph on.
Some iconic locations were chosen, the St. Catharines Standard. Imagining people standing in front of the building to see what's on the front page of the newspaper, it just seems like such an odd concept today.
There's so many layers to the program. There's the layer of just seeing a building or a streetscape, but then there's also thinking about how we used to consume news. And in the 60s, which is the photograph that I chose for the St. Catharines Standard building, a group is standing in front of the window reading the bulletin of Kennedy's assassination. And the only way to get that news in the moment at that time was to listen to the radio or to see it in the window, and then later wait for the newspaper to come out. So it's quite, there's so many different layers to, oh wow, look at the building, people reading the news, and then a really significant event in the lives of a lot of people, seeing how people consume that. Versus today, how would we consume that news? Right on our phones or on the internet.
6 of these are up in the downtown area. Am I correct on that?
There's actually 11. 11. Yeah, nine on St. Paul, and then one on James, and a few on Queen. And we hope to expand in the future. There, as I said, over the years we've used about 25 photos throughout the temporary installations. And then the other thing is too, there are so many historic streetscapes across the entire city, not just downtown. So next on the list is probably Facer Street, Portaluzzi, Meriton. And there's been so many suggestions. Once History InSite became permanent, there's been so many suggestions of what about this and what about this, and so we really hope to expand it over the next few years.
It's a really great way to get the city's history out to the people, rather than forcing them to come to the museum at a time when you can't let them in the museum. It really makes a lot of sense.
We would love when people come to the museum, but there's something about the photograph in the place where it was taken that's very immediate. So there's 2 ways that I hope that people consume the project, really. They can go on a walking tour and see every single sign at once. But really over the next few years, as the signs become a part of the streetscape themselves, I hope that people just kind of happen upon them. I love this idea of sort of visitors coming from out of town, maybe to go to a hockey game or down to the Performing Arts Center, just bumping into a sign and just having a little bit of historical joy in that moment, and then kind of going on with their lives. Same with people who work downtown. Maybe they'll just see one at lunch and that'll be it. And then they'll see another one later. So really it's sort of just to have our history be a little bit more present and alive and accessible in people's daily lives as they travel downtown.
Adrian, it's a great installation and a great addition to downtown. It's called History InSite from the St. Catharines Museum. Get out and see it when you can. Thanks for joining us, Adrian.